It is tempting to be a serious person these days. And how could we not be? The world feels like it is on fire. The headlines are relentless, and it's hard to remember the last time you felt light or laughed at something ridiculous. But sometimes, if we're lucky, we meet someone who reminds us how to play. This is Everything Happens, and I'm Kate Bowler. My guest today is someone who brings buoyancy into any room she enters. That is Sophie Gregoire-Trudeau. Sophie has spent decades in the public eye as a celebrated mental health advocate, as an award-winning humanitarian, as a mother, writer, public speaker, and yes, for a long time, as the partner of Canada's Prime Minister. And still, when you meet her, you get the sense that she's trying to offer you something real, something tender, something whole. Today, we're talking about the ways we are wired from childhood, how we are all learning how to come home to ourselves, and practicing being known. We talk about what it means to stay soft in a world that wants you to harden. So, if you're trying to make room for a little joy while carrying all the heartbreak in your bodies, or you're not sure how to tune out of what's difficult and into the deep work, well, this conversation is just for you. My guest is Sophie Gregoire-Trudeau, and she is one of Canada's great treasures. Sophie is a celebrated mental health advocate. She has been recognized by the United Nations with multiple awards for her humanitarian work. She is really just the best. She is a trailblazer. She is a cheerleader. She is an advocate for all things mental health in Canada and, frankly, in my own life. Sophie's book, Closer Together, Knowing Ourselves, Loving Each Other, is a personal journey. It is filled with expertise, self-knowledge, acceptance, frankly, a huge dose of emotional peace. And she's someone I have greatly admired for her public service on every global stage for more than a decade, navigating public life with incredible empathy, including years alongside Canada's former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. She is a champion for connection, for the superiority of all things Canadian tuxedos and also poutine. Without further ado, Sophie Gregoire-Trudeau. Sophie, I'm so excited we get to do this today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
It's one of my favorite things about you. You're so unpretentious, you're so playful, you're so down to earth, and I think it really challenges all of us to think about how we like to hide behind labels. And you really want us to move beyond formalities. Why do you think that's so hard, especially for maybe women?
Ooh, that's a big question. I have chills. It's funny. I think for me, from my experience, but also from all of the young women that I've been meeting along the path and older women as well, um, in society, we wear a lot of masks and we are asked to correspond to certain standards, whether it's behavioral, beauty, performance, mothering, whatever it is. It kind of comes with the formula of this is what it should look like.
Mhm.
And I mean, this is not new, huh? This has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think that we have been, in part, ingrained with these concepts, brainwashed with these concepts, and that anything that instigates fear, shame, or guilt has not served us in any way, shape, or form.
Man, we do get caught up though in the stories about ourselves. It's something you challenge us to do almost immediately is to figure out how to get out of the story and then get grounded in the present. I wonder what practicing presence looks like for you.
Um, Playfulness, lightness.
Yeah.
Um, I've met, on the co-political path or just on my professional path, personal path, mother path, I've met a lot of serious individuals. And I've come to understand without judging that there's lots of suffering in very serious individuals who have not nourished, nurtured, and recognized the child within them. This is not to say, oh, we should be, childish and immature. No, no, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I think it's David White. I think I've shared this quote with you. I'm not sure. That says, innocence is one's ability to be found by the world.
Lovely.
Innocence is one's ability to be
Yes.
found by the world.
Yes.
Notice two things. Ability. This is a quality you
Yeah.
can develop,
I like that.
right?
Yeah.
Kids have it naturally.
Yes.
They don't care who's watching. when they, rise and fall in their diapers or put whatever peanut butter all over their faces, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we learn very quickly what we have to change in our behavior in order to feel love and validated.
Yes.
And that's the opposite of authenticity. Because when we're authentic, we are playful. So I would say that would be one of the first things is let go of formalities and, oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
know about formalities. I've been to so many, official dinners, in different corners of the globe, and everybody has their different protocols and you learn it all. And it's great. I mean, in some instances, it's important, right?
Yeah.
To keep pace of events and everything and to honor cultural, practices. But when there's absolutely no element of play, just think about cultural practices around the world, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you're from, like in the globe. Usually there's dancing, usually there'll be singing, right?
Yeah.
Well, somehow those movements and that freeing of the voice is the component of what it means to be a free child.
Mm-hmm.
And as we grow and dramatize our lives and suffer, we forget how to play. And I would say that there's nothing more loving
Yeah.
than to be playful in the present moment. And playfulness, and it doesn't mean that you're always goofing around.
Yeah. No,
It
I
could
love
be
it.
being present, looking at the sky or the
Yeah.
sun or a plant,
Yeah.
whatever. But there's
Yeah.
a sense of lightness.
Oh, I really like that because a while ago, I found myself realizing that the people I'm most drawn to, there was just a funny compliment I realized I was always trying to reach for after having experienced them. I was like, oh, you're so knowable. Like, thank you for being knowable.
Wow. I've never heard that before. I think, yeah, that really resonates with me because when you say to somebody, thank you for being knowable, if I hear you well, it might be like, thank you for unveiling, for
Yes.
exposing, for being vulnerable. Thank you for looking at me
Yeah.
with the eyes of your child into the eyes of my child
Yeah.
as a mature growing adult.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's paramount to to peace.
Yes. Well, and you've put so much work into understanding how our wiring either sets us up as adults to be more knowable or I really like your language of like overly dramatizes the story of who we are. When did you first sort of take this journey of trying to understand your own wiring, and how does it make you look back on what you now understand to be like young Sophie?
I mean, my own suffering for sure. I'm an only child. I grew up in nature. I played with animals and like the wind and the sun for like 0 to 4. And my parents kind of like set me free out there. And then we moved to the city and there was addiction on both sides of my family.
Mm.
And as an only child, I try to wear the cape where I wanted to save, my mom from my dad and my mom from herself and my dad from himself. And
Yeah.
it took me a really long time to realize that that was not my cape to wear and not to point fingers. There were incredible human beings and they were very loving, but they could only deal with our relationship the way they dealt with, their own mothers, their own family members, and their own body and nervous system. If there's too many threads that are falling apart, it can't withhold the greater good. It can't withhold the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing for us. When I realized that, well, I was suffering from eating disorders, I didn't know then that I had to not look at the addiction, but to look at the pain under the addiction.
Uh-huh.
And so in time, I looked at the pain under the addiction and realized, well, little Sophie tried to be perfect because, all attention was on her and she wanted to save the people around her because she loved them.
Yeah.
And like every other child, we adapt our behavior so that
Yeah.
we don't create chaos, we don't disturb the peace, and we're looked at with adoration because every single child needs that.
Yes.
With boundaries, obviously, but not with limits on the love. Mm?
Mm-hmm. The language you used for that has really stuck with me. You were like, in that moment, we need warmth and structure.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So
Yeah.
I think that somehow we have to be careful as parents or mentors or auntie or aunts or grandmothers, um, because setting boundaries and telling our children what we think is good or bad is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries are important, but when you're from 0 to 2 and you're pre-verbal,
Mm-hmm.
there's no boundaries to be set. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
total unison,
Yeah.
a symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship,
That deep connection. Yeah.
incredibly safe, incredibly constant, incredibly stable, and incredibly predictable.
Yes.
Now think about adult relationships and try to tell me that's not what we need.
So things
Jeez.
are unpredictable, not warm, or intermittently warm and cold, or
Yeah.
unboundaried, or sometimes it's one way and sometimes the other.
Yeah.
We and say you're wondering why he doesn't call you back. These are it creates this like low level crazy hum.
We're taught to go in the, the
Yeah.
brain and the head, but not to the brain and the heart or the gut for that matter.
Yes.
And that it just doesn't make sense anymore, because the more we separate these three instances, the less we'll be able to know ourselves and to know, why am I angry, getting so pissed off at this person? Why am I triggered when my boyfriend says, well, no, I can't go out with you tonight because I have other plans, and all of a sudden you feel abandoned, right?
Yeah.
Those are all our wounds that are talking to us. And I'm learning at 50 to say, 50 to say, thank you, pain.
Mm.
Thank you, my love. Thank you for letting me realize that I'm learning something here that I couldn't learn any other way.
Mm.
It sucks and it hurts. I'm not going to thank you for that, but thank you, because in the end, I get to know more about my triggers, my wounds, and where I'm heading into this life and how I'm headed into this life.
As someone who constantly feels like I should have fixed overthinking and overfeeling, I find that to be very comforting. Is like that there's like a I need to maybe take a beat between the between the feeling, between the
And
moment where I tell myself it was the wrong response, and just to like say, you are not too much for yourself. you know,
I feel like that too. No, but you just used a word that actually made me react, because you said fix.
yeah.
And I'm now seeing, as time goes by, and I've been on the mental health advocacy path for like more than 20 years, is that it's not that we're broken. We think we are, but we're not.
Yeah.
And we don't need to be fixed. We actually need to become more tender.
Mm.
We actually need to become softer. In softness, there is a revelation of complete love and surrender.
I mean, I just live so much in my brain, and that feeling of like being constantly flooded by information, like headline information, the stress and pressure and privilege of relationships, the joy of having a computer job and a thinking job, but which also means I find it very easy to forget I am attached to all these other all these other systems that don't always love it when only one system is working.
Well, you actually forget in those times, when you're always in your mind, that you actually have a body, right? So your mind is being disconnected from your body. So how can you be so in tune to hear its signals and its whispers and its screams sometimes? And you're somebody who's been learning to be much more in tune with her body through your whole journey, and it's fascinating because you've developed such attunement
Yes.
to your physical body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That is true. I guess because sometimes I feel like under attuned. Like, I mean, dissociating from my body has been a really useful way of me getting through really long periods of pain. I mean, every time when I started meditation, they would say like, you can always come home to your body. It was like, what are you talking about? My body's trying to murder me. So I did have a hard
Wow.
time like restoring, even just feeling comfortable breathing, feeling like I was finding peace when I kind of came back. But I think most of the time too, I just feel so agitated, emotionally agitated. You have a lot of really helpful language for why we can feel so hyper plugged in to everybody else's nervous system.
Remember that the first thing that we see when we meet each other, you know what it is, right?
Our big dumb faces.
Exactly. Human expressions, right? Facial expressions. So we pick up on that as human beings in 100 milliseconds. So we're constantly trying to kind of get away from danger, and seek comfort. So when we meet human beings that feel comforting, our ancestral brain is going, yes, my tribe will stay alive,
Yeah.
right? And we haven't changed. That brain hasn't changed. So in a society where we're constantly bombarded with information, constantly in stress mode, living too fast, not resting enough, not even feeling that we're worthy enough, then the body sends us signals all the time. But we're really trying to adapt as human beings to abnormal living circumstances. We're not meant to be sitting all day. We're
Yeah.
not meant to be eating processed food. We're not meant to be disconnected from one another. And we're paying an extremely high price for that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we're kind of pathologizing all of these conditions. And yes, some of them, really have to be looked at very, very seriously. But still, we're telling ourselves that we're sick when actually our bodies are being extremely wise and extremely talkative.
Reality is, it feels really brutal right now. Distraction does feel easier. And I've heard you talk about how people try to find refuge from their pain. What have you learned about facing pain head on?
Yeah. I think that in order to face pain head on, you first have to go visit your refuge with curiosity.
Uh huh.
So mine was food, right? And numbing for a while. And by the way, like all addictions are simply a cry for love. It's something that you're not getting emotionally that you need so desperately, and you're trying to cry out for love. And in order to not face your pain because it hurts too much, because the child inside of you protected that for so long to protect you so you could still survive as a child, right? And as Dr. Gabor Mate says, it's not the trauma that's so hard for them, for children to process. It's to having to live it alone
Yeah.
inside of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing to
Yeah.
try to get away from our pain, because it will come and face you and haunt you back for as long as you ignore it.
Yeah.
So for some people it's intensity, running marathons, always keeping busy physically. For some it's relationships, jumping from one to the other. Other it's alcohol, others it's heroin, others it's food. Whatever the drug of choice, the drug of numbing is,
Yeah.
there's a refuge in there that is a protection mechanism, and that was there to keep you safer for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But maturing into the adult means I'm willing to look at my patterns and understand where I come from emotionally, so I can actually have agency over myself and not feel threatened by other people in my life.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of being more curious about our coping strategies rather than
Yeah, because
immediately. Yeah.
yeah, I think it demands tenderness, it demands curiosity, it demands compassion. Like sometimes I'll say to myself, like, hey, like little Soph, like, why were you triggered by this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel abandoned? Because that's your wound, right? That's your wound of origin. Do you feel like you don't, like, people won't be taking care of you anymore, that you'll be left alone?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Because in the present moment, you're not alone at all. You're loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not being rejected. In the present moment, everything is fine. But we're always, more often than not, reliving our past or
Mm-hmm.
projecting into the future.
Yeah.
The trick is to pick up on the fact that you're doing it.
Sure it is. I'm sure
Not
it is.
worthy. Not worthy. A lot of us, by the way, not a lot of us.
Yeah. I do find it so weird being 45 and then constantly trying to take a beat to not immediately say or like feel or believe that kind of earliest story. Like, for example, I have really lovely relationships. I'm so grateful for my relationships. The very first time someone I really care about compliments me, I just, it's not that I want to punch them in the face. It's that I want to just like gently turn my face away and pretend no one said it So because it's just hard. It's hard to face people's love sometimes full on, even if I really want it. It's every time I just find I trip over the same thing, and it takes me a minute to just accept the love that I want.
But uh, am I allowed to ask you a
Yeah,
question
yeah,
on
yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so why, like, why do you think you're not worthy of the compliment?
There's there's like a little list. It's funny because one of them is that I'm Canadian. Isn't that so funny? I'm like, we're humble people.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
so don't take that away from me. But there's that. There's the I think we said it in my family a million times, like just like it was a version of don't be a bad person, but it was basically like be humble. But
Okay,
that
then.
wasn't the real definition of humility, but it ended up being like kind of a self rejection.
So
And
in a way, if you step under the light, you're taking light away from others.
yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you teach that to your son?
Oh my gosh, never. And he has like his face is just a big sunflower. I mean, you want to look at his big face, and it doesn't take away from anyone else. And I wish, and when I compliment him, he doesn't even flinch. He just like beams back. It's such
Oh,
a good little lesson. He goes, "Oh, thank you, mom." Like he's just so
okay.
happy about it.
So I have a story like this. I was reading a book. It's like the Fancy Nancy collection. I don't know if you know it, but I was reading a book to Ella, my daughter, who was like, I don't know, 4 years old at that time. And at every end of the book, there's always a new word. Like every end of the story in Fancy Nancy, there's always a new word to teach the child. And this word was humble. And she's like, Mama, what's humble? And I'm like, oh my God, how do I explain this to a 4 year old? Well, you're good at piano, Ella. You're good at biking. You're good at eating great food. You're good at drawing. But do you go out everywhere saying, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good all the time? Because that's what
Uh-huh.
it means to be humble. And then she looks at me and she says, yeah, exactly like me.
It's true. It's true. We've had to have a couple moments where like, no, you are actually not a baseball prodigy. You are.
I know, right? Actually, that's an interesting thing as parents. Like, do we over indulge in compliments because we
Yeah.
want them to be so good? But I find sometimes that says more about us as a parent than it says about the child, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
Although there are some prodigies out there, but we're not all prodigies, you know?
No, not
No,
no. This
no,
is no. I mean, we're
no.
not going to have an athletic superpower happen
You're
in the bowler genetic
you're
pool.
not you're not going to the Tour de France. We just know that.
That's
No Tour de France for you or me.
but I think the the way that you remind us that we're just one trauma away from each other is is a profound truth. How has that shaped how you see strangers?
I know that my parents used to tell me, go into the world, say, hi, my name is Sophie. Would you like to play? Right? Like at 50, I'm still like that. Even with my children, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but sometimes we'll meet a human being, let's say in a restaurant, like I don't know,
Yeah.
wherever we are.
Yeah.
And that person just won't, like, we just won't get a smile out of them.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, next 15 minutes, eye contact, we're getting them to smile. And we really try. And when it's really bad, it just doesn't happen. But 98% of the time, they will crack a smile.
I love that you triple down. That is so great.
Yeah.
Cuz it is like I mean, that's one of my strongest memories from all that time I spent in the hospital was at first I was just so full of fear and so blurry to me. But when I focused on people's individual faces, even when they were in pain, even when they, had ugly bandages and thinning skin around wounds and all the things that make you want to look away, I found if I stayed on their face for longer, there was just always this little surprising revelation, like detail that opened up them being who they were. And especially like the way someone puts a hand on their back, the way someone smooths their hair, like it was so much easier to love another person, like to love a stranger. If I at the hospital could be like, oh, this is all of us. This is all the fellowship of the afflicted.
Wow. So in a way, when you found connection and safety in someone else's gaze
Yeah.
or presence, you felt like somehow you were good. It was going to be okay.
Yeah. Yes. Cuz they were so cuz even their fragility was so beautiful. Like people are so weirdly beautiful.
I so agree with you, especially when you take away all the fluff and the things we identify to or as or whatever.
Yes.
It's just, you know, even when you think of a like you and a baby or you and a lover, right? A mother and a baby will look at each other for very long periods of time.
Yeah.
Like think about breastfeeding. Think
Yeah.
about when do we ever sustain the gaze for that long,
No,
right?
that's so true. That's so
And
true.
and diplomacy has changed through decades because people don't meet face to face anymore either.
Oh, I see.
Something in being face to face as human beings is visceral to our well-being. Visceral.
That's so interesting because it's true. Like you can feel their force field. You can feel yourself being influenced. And I
Yeah,
mean
and
that's
tonight your partner's going to be like, "Why the heck are you looking at
stop
me this
looking
way?"
at me. I just said pass the salt.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is true. I mean the best the most like peaceful part of my day is that connection feeling because my kid's 11 and he's just in that very giant moon face stage where he will like look in your eyes. Bat his Why do boys have enormous eyelashes? I mean, it's just obscene.
Can you please explain the unfairness to me?
I know.
No. And they're thick and long.
It's true. It's true. It's
Yeah.
just it's and that does create like it creates this little force field of love. I find it so insanely calming. Thank you for explaining that.
But to close the loop is that it is easier to look away, right? From disgust, from something that is different from you, from something that you don't know,
Mm.
than it is to continue looking.
Yeah.
And that's true for a lot of things that are happening on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And it's easier because it protects us if we look away. Because we don't feel that, well, we have to find a solution to everything or we have to, appease everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll never forget when I learned that Abraham Maslow, like of the,
Uh-huh.
the king of modern psychology, in his pyramid had put safety and a roof over your head and food at the base of the pyramid. But when he studied with indigenous communities, he realized that really their model was about safety was replaced by community.
Huh.
And because we have dismantled community,
Yeah.
we have dismantled ourselves at the same time.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh.
It's
Because we have dismantled community, we have dismantled ourselves at the same time.
yeah.
That is bad. For people too who want to experience connection even when they're alone, nature is also such a spectacular connector. You are such an outside person. You are such a, I mean, in theology, we call this natural revelation, right? Like the experience of transcendence everywhere. And also just enjoying our bodies outside. Why is that so strangely basic and unbelievably vital when it comes to our mental health?
Oof, chills again. So many reasons. First of all, it strengthens our immunity, our immune system to go outside, to play outdoors. We sleep better. Kids sleep better when they play outside. Same for adults. It heightens our vitamin D levels, which in North America we're mostly deficient in
Yeah.
vitamin D levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a social connector. It improves mood and
Mhm.
relaxation propensity. And obviously, you can test yourself in nature, right? I was raised by a super intrepid dad who allowed me to test my physical capabilities to know what I was made of psychologically. Hmm?
Yeah. Okay, and also,
And
just to be clear, you're a very fast skier. You're an insanely fast walker. Like,
and you're right. I was called Tornado for a while when I was younger because I used to do everything and like always be ready for movement and speed. And to be honest, one of the greatest lessons I've integrated in the past, I would say 20 years, is slow down. And I didn't swear in the middle. Notice? Slow down. Slowing down is the language of love. Presence is
yes.
slow.
Yes.
Love is slow. Lust is fast. Love is slow.
Yeah.
Happiness is fast. Contempt is slow.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
amusement parks, drugs, relationships can be fast.
Yeah.
Nature is slow. So she's the ultimate muse, and this is how my dad, who died a year ago very soon,
Mm,
described her, his ultimate muse.
his ultimate.
And every time I find myself in a moment of bliss in nature, I think of him and how he introduced me to her
Mm,
at a very young age, and she
oh,
became definitely my best friend. She still is. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, lovey.
Yeah.
A place to return and feel like weirdly whole.
I think all the lessons are there when you look at the dance of opposites in nature, the contraction, the expansion, the disasters, the miracles of beauty, uh,
Yeah.
and how time affects it and how it renews itself constantly. Like it's just so primordial and so profound, and it's also poetic. Like
Yes.
I love to paint nature. Like when I paint nature. It's the only thing I want to paint.
Well, yeah, I didn't know you paint. That's
Yeah, I
cool.
love painting. I'm not great at it, but I love it. I'm not bad at it. I love it.
I like doing things without being great at it. I think that's,
And and you know what? You just made me feel something. When I'm painting, I slow the gaze. I gaze more.
yeah.
I'm constantly looking back and forth
Yeah.
and seeing what happens on this completely blank canvas that I'm painting on, or life itself. What happens when I keep looking back to really see how things are,
Yeah.
not how I want them to be. And then you can go, creative and imagine something else. But at first, you see how things are
Yes.
without distorting them.
Yeah.
Us,
I like thinking about you out there with just like a paintbrush and bear mace. Just,
you know what? When I've been in the past years, I've had lots of painful episodes in my life, emotionally, lots of loss and grief, transformation, and I stopped painting.
hmm,
And recently, I'm like, okay, I think I should go back now.
yeah.
Because when we're hurting, it's difficult to sustain the gaze, whether it's with a lover, a friend, a husband, whatever, a coworker even.
Yeah.
When it gets difficult, it's more painful, it's difficult to sustain the gaze. But the truth is in the sustenance.
I totally believe you.
Yeah.
That's so good. I- I'm so grateful for the way you encourage us all to feel like the more we learn about our nervous systems and our bodies and our minds and the way that they interact, the more that we will come home to ourselves and experience belonging in a new way. So, thank you for being the ambassador of belonging. I know I have needed it. I bestow that title officially upon you and in an entirely unauthorized way.
The ambassador of
Yep, I
belonging.
made it up and I feel strongly about it immediately.
Oh my God. Okay, I love it. I'll wear the crown just for you.
Sometimes mental health feels like just, one more thing to manage, another item on the endless checklist of how to be a person. But Sophie is really inviting us into something different, not a task, not a fix, but an invitation to pay attention, to become lifelong students of our own lives, learning how to live alongside our pain, how to dive into our wounds without drowning in them, and how to maybe be a little more gentle with ourselves as we move forward. What was that word she used? Tenderness? It was almost something like relentless tenderness toward ourselves. She reminds us that formalities have their place and roles and whatnot. Maybe we always do feel like we are what we do, or we are who we care for, or we are who we make lunch for. But maybe if we put our roles aside for a minute, it gives us a chance for a little lightness, maybe even a little grounding, and definitely a little bit more play. Because the world is already heavy enough without us taking ourselves so seriously. So, if you're feeling serious or just not really sure who you are outside of your roles, I thought maybe we could do a little blessing for all of us who are trying to stay soft and grounded. Blessed are you who are tracing your own patterns with tenderness, who name the old wounds and the deep-seated fears. You who stay soft in a world that rewards the hardened. You who choose presence, not because it feels good, because it's the only way to come home to ourselves. May we practice being tender, open-hearted, knowable to ourselves and one another. And may we believe that joy still wants to find you, even here, even now, wherever you are, wherever you find yourself. Okay, look, lovelies, if you're into blessings and reflections and cultural observations of all kinds, I'm at Substack now. And it's actually a lot of fun because not only do I get to write things, but there's an enormous community of you who leave beautiful comments and care for each other. So come on over. It's at katebowler.substack.com. And also, just on this podcast, if you're feeling at all generous with your time, if you don't mind leaving us a review on Apple or Spotify, it really helps more people find us. It is just the way the algorithms work. And hey, if you want to come find me on YouTube, you can see my giant face and watch every episode. I'm at Kate C. Bowler. I have an amazing team who makes everything happen here at Everything Happens, and these are my favorite people. Jessica Ritchie, who is insanely sick right now and still producing this podcast. Harriet Putman, Keith Weston, Ann Herring, Haley Durrett, Megan Crunkleton, Anna Fitzgerald Peterson, Iris Green, and Catherine Smith. This is Everything Happens with me, Kate Bowler.